This is an instructional video about the Drymatic Boost Box. So the Drymatic Boost Box was developed for three applications. The first application it's used, it's basically a heater that you put an air mover in front of. So the first application it was used for is if you're in an area where it's a colder climate. Let's say Australia, if you're in Melbourne and it's winter time and your temperatures are fairly low and you set up your dehumidification and it's not really hot enough. So it might be 14 or 15 degrees inside the environment, your dehumidifier is not working. We know they start to struggle, under 20 degrees Celsius, they start to struggle, obviously because they get to dew point, so we want to make sure that we are adding extra heat to the environment. Okay, so that was the first way they developed for the Boost Box. The second thing was the Boost Box was to add extra heat for the Drymatic. So the Drymatic 1 or the Drymatic 2 heats up a certain size area. With the Boost Box, you're going to add extra heat to those areas. So if you set up the Drymatic 2 and exhaust up to 595 cubic meters, you go, well, I'm going to do upstairs and downstairs, I'm going to exhaust the whole complex, or the whole drying situation. Might be a 4-bedroom house, you might be able to exhaust the whole area, but you might have strategically placed a couple of Boost Boxes upstairs and a couple of Boost Boxes downstairs, okay? Depending on your ambient, depending on if it's the middle of summer or if it's the middle of winter, okay? So, and the third application was used for our Drymatic mats, but we'll run through that shortly. Now the Drymatic mats attached to the Boost Box use an air mover, fill up the mat with heat and target heat drying to those areas, whether it's 1 square meter or it's wall mats, floor mats, and so forth. So let's run through the operation of how the Drymatic Boost Box works. Okay, so it comes with 3 areas to plug in leads. The first one is a little stubby lead which we use to plug our air mover into. So that goes over here. From there, we plug our air mover, whichever air mover we're deciding on using, into the plug. Okay? Then we have the middle plug here. Now the middle plug here plugs into the wall. Or this one, you can plug it into a power board, you can plug this into an RCD, okay? So this particular one is only what your fan draws. So if your fan draws 2 amps, this is drawing 2 amps, okay? So you can plug that into your power board, your RCD box, or directly into the wall. You don't have to run the highest quality extension lead off this particular one, okay? The third one in question is our power lead. Now our power lead plugs in the front here, okay? It's a heavy duty lead, the heavy duty plug. Now you do not want to plug this into an RCD board or power boards. You want to plug this directly into the wall. And make sure that your power point's not too worn. Make sure when you put it in, you've got a good connection. Okay? Now, if you cannot reach, obviously it's only a short lead. If you cannot reach, these are an excellent lead. These particular power leads are 20 amps, and they have the best 10 amp plugs, and they're 10 meters long. Very, very sturdy lead. With that particular one, you do not want to be plugging in cheap leads from the supermarket or Bunnings and so forth. You want to make sure you're getting a really high quality extension lead running off this machine. It can draw up to 9.6 amps from the actual Boost Box, so you want to make sure that you're using a high quality lead, okay? Now, we have different settings on the Drymatic Boost Box. We have AUX heater, which is 50 to 60 degrees. We have DAD system, which is 40 to 50 degrees. And we have Boost for Drymatic, which is 20 to 30 degrees. Now where you would use these settings, Boost for Drymatic is usually used when you're running a dehumidifier. So if you're in a colder area, you want to add the Boost Box in there to add extra heat, you'll set it for Boost for Drymatic. Now it won't let it go over 30 degrees, okay? So heat it up, when it gets over 30 degrees, it'll start dropping off some heater banks, okay? So it ramps up and ramps down, okay? So the main one we use for mats, because the main system we use this on is Drymatic mats, are either the DAD setting or the auxiliary setting, depending on the materials that we're drying. So with the boost box blowing warm air into the mats, what happens is on the base of the mats it has these little holes and they become microjets, and what they do is they break the boundary layer. From there, what happens is it heats the surface and the structure, increasing the evaporation and the diffusion rate of the moisture in the materials. Okay, so temperature makes that biggest change. Rather than just drying out with dehumidification, we are targeting heat onto areas and changing that diffusion rate. So it releases that moisture, excites the molecules in the materials, whether it's gyprock or timber floor or concrete, and releases the moisture. Okay, so there's the settings. You also got a reset button there if you want to reset your display. Now with the display you have an hour meter and you have a kilowatt hour. So if it's on auxiliary, which is the hottest setting, and you're running at 7 hours, it will run 14 kilowatt hours. Okay, so that's pretty much how it's plugged on. Now you can have a fan going in that way or that way. Either way, it doesn't matter. Depending on where your plugs are going to go towards your power point, it doesn't matter which side you put your fan. Okay. Now, if you're going to run through fans, you want to understand what they're good for. So it's not necessarily as a big high pressure fan running through it is necessary all the time. Sometimes a low speed. Now this particular fan here that we supply is a gentle air mover, low pressure, low speed, low noise, light air mover that you can put in front of the actual boost box and blow gentle heat through. The faster the air you're running through the actual boost box, sometimes the colder it is coming out. Okay? So where the high pressure fan really comes into play, if you're going to pump up a lot of mats. Okay? This particular fan has more static pressure than any other fan in the market, so it can pump up a lot more mats. So if you've got two big 4x1 wall mats, this will pump it up. Okay? So if you've got small mats, you've got like a little 2x1 meter mat you want to pump up, this thing's great. You know, great for your small areas. You want to do your large areas, you need a high pressure fan to pump up the mats for your larger areas. Okay? So this particular fan will pump up at least 4 3x2s, and this sort of does 1 3x2. See, that's sort of the comparison. Okay? So you want to make sure you pick the right fan for the boost box, depending on the mats that you're using. If you're going to be using it just to add extra heat for your Drymatic, a low speed, low pressure fan is preferable rather than the high speed, high pressure fan, because you want to make sure you're getting maximum heat. It's not all about airflow, it's just that gentle heat flow. Okay? So that's a little bit about the boost box.